The second Curtis threw that punch at Isaiah, I think everything changed. And not just for him. I'm talking about one of those moments that seems messy on the surface, but underneath, it could be the beginning of a total collapse. Because if these spoilers are even halfway accurate, Curtis may have just destroyed his own future with one violent decision he couldn't take back. And guys, the scary part is, it doesn't even look like the worst shock is the prison sentence. No, the real damage may come afterward. Because while Curtis could be sitting alone in a jail cell replaying that night over and over in his head, Portia and Isaiah may already be moving on together faster than anyone expected. Maybe even faster than Curtis can emotionally survive. And if you ask me, the DNA twist changes absolutely everything. Right now, it seems like Curtis completely lost control after finding out something involving Isaiah and Portia. Whatever triggered him, it apparently pushed him past the point of reason. The leaked information suggests Curtis violently attacks Isaiah, and the situation gets bad enough that police are called immediately. Joe supposedly becomes the officer handling the arrest. That detail matters more than people realize. Because Joe may end up becoming the messenger, delivering every single devastating update directly into Curtis's face while he's trapped behind bars with no power to stop anything happening outside. And honestly, that sounds brutal. But here's where the story may become even darker. Apparently, Isaiah was scheduled to perform a critical surgery on a patient shortly before or after the attack. Because of the injuries from Curtis's assault, Isaiah may no longer be physically able to complete the procedure. Now think about that for a second. If the patient dies because the surgery couldn't happen in time, this suddenly stops being just assault. This could start looking like indirect manslaughter or negligent homicide depending on how the investigation spins it. And that means Curtis may not simply spend a few nights in lockup. We could be talking years, maybe even longer. That's the part I don't think Curtis sees coming at all. In his mind, he probably believed he was defending himself emotionally, protecting his marriage, stopping Isaiah from getting too close to Portia. But instead, it looks like he may have handed Isaiah and Portia exactly what they needed. Freedom. Because, let's be honest here, even before this explosion happened, it already felt like Portia was emotionally drifting away from Curtis. You could see the cracks, the tension, the exhaustion. It seemed like she was tired of the suspicion, tired of the fighting, tired of constantly trying to hold together a marriage that already felt halfway broken. Then, Isaiah enters the picture. Calm, supportive, understanding. That contrast matters. And now with Curtis potentially incarcerated, nobody would be standing in their way anymore. That's why I keep thinking the timing here cannot be accidental. There's speculation that Portia may actually go into labor right around the same time Curtis attacks Isaiah. Imagine how horrifying that would be emotionally. Curtis completely spiraling while Portia is literally giving birth somewhere else. And what if Curtis never even gets to see the baby after the arrest? That possibility hits hard. Because spoilers seem to hint there could be a small time jump. Maybe Curtis has already been sitting in jail for several weeks by the time Portia organizes a baby celebration. Long enough for reality to settle in. Long enough for him to realize he missed the birth, missed the first moments, missed everything. And that's where Joe may become unintentionally cruel. I can already picture it. Curtis sitting there, desperate for updates, hoping Portia still cares, hoping maybe she's waiting for him somehow. Then Joe walks in with news from the outside world. News Curtis absolutely does not want to hear. Portia and Isaiah preparing for a baby celebration together, maybe decorating together, maybe hosting guests together, maybe acting like a family already. But I don't even think that's the biggest twist. Because what if the baby shower isn't the only event they're planning? This is where my theory gets wild. There's a chance Portia and Isaiah could decide to combine the baby celebration with a wedding ceremony. I know that sounds insane at first, but the more I think about it, the more it actually fits the emotional chaos of this storyline. Think about the symbolism. New baby, new relationship, new beginning. While Curtis sits in prison, watching his old life disappear piece by piece, and honestly, soap operas love dramatic parallel moments like that. One character drowning in regret, while another couple celebrates happiness publicly. It creates maximum emotional destruction. If this happens, Curtis may completely unravel because up until then, maybe part of him still believes Portia will come back eventually. Maybe he convinces himself Isaiah is temporary. Maybe prison gives him too much time to fantasize about repairing things once he gets out. But a wedding? That changes everything. A wedding makes it real. And yet, even that may not be the final blow, because the DNA reveal could absolutely shatter whatever hope Curtis still has left. According to the speculation floating around, Joe may eventually bring Curtis an envelope while he's incarcerated. At first, Curtis may think it's legal paperwork, maybe updates on his case, maybe visitation forms. Instead, it could be DNA results. And if those results prove the baby isn't his, wow, that would mean Curtis lost literally everything at once. His freedom, his marriage, his child, his future. And what makes this twist even colder is the possibility that Portia or Isaiah willingly sent those results to him. Not accidentally, not through lawyers, deliberately. Almost like they wanted Curtis to stop holding on to false hope. Or worse, maybe they wanted him to suffer. That's the kind of emotional cruelty soaps sometimes lean into when relationships turn toxic. Now, do I think Portia is necessarily trying to destroy Curtis emotionally? Not completely. I still think part of her may feel guilty. There's a chance she genuinely wanted honesty once the baby was born. Maybe she believes Curtis deserves the truth before he spends years behind bars believing he lost his own child. But Isaiah? I'm not fully convinced his motives are that clean. Because if you ask me, Isaiah may secretly view this entire situation as an opportunity. Curtis self-destructed publicly. The law stepped in. Portia needed emotional support. The baby may biologically be his. Everything suddenly shifts in Isaiah's favor. And maybe he knows it. That's why I keep wondering whether Isaiah stays calm because he's truly mature or because he understands he's already winning without needing to fight. That distinction matters. Especially if Curtis eventually starts suspecting he was manipulated emotionally long before the attack even happened. Imagine Curtis replaying every interaction in his head from prison. Every glance between Portia and Isaiah. Every argument. Every moment he was told he was overreacting. What if he starts believing they were already building a future together before the marriage fully collapsed? That kind of paranoia could consume him, and honestly, prison storylines tend to change characters permanently. Curtis may enter jail angry and broken, but if this betrayal keeps stacking up, he may come out as somebody completely different. More dangerous, more bitter, more unpredictable. Because how do you recover after learning the child you loved might never have been yours in the first place? And here's another possibility nobody's talking about enough. What if the DNA test itself isn't trustworthy? This is General Hospital. We all know DNA results have been manipulated before. Swapped samples, fake reports, secret tampering. None of that would be shocking anymore. So while the results may appear devastating initially, there's always the chance somebody altered the truth for their own agenda. Could Isaiah have done that? Could Portia know more than she admits? Could Joe, unknowingly, be delivering false information? That uncertainty is exactly why this storyline feels so explosive right now. Because no matter which direction it goes, Curtis loses something important. Even if the DNA turns out fake later, the emotional damage may already be irreversible. Once Curtis believes the baby isn't his, once he watches Portia potentially marry another man, once he spends months or years isolated with those thoughts, can any relationship survive that kind of destruction? Or is this the moment Curtis truly becomes someone Port Charles won't recognize anymore?